If you have an object like this ball bearing here and you drop it, it's going to accelerate. And the reason it accelerates is because there's a resultant force on it. Now, the size of this resultant force is due to its weight, and that's going to be equal to mg. But of course, when you have a resultant force on an object, that's going to cause this acceleration. So this force here is provided by this weight. So we could therefore say that mg is equal to ma, and then we can see that the m's cancel, and that means g is equal to a. So in this case, the acceleration is due to gravity, and we call it the acceleration of freefall. Now, there's a way that we can actually investigate this, and of course we do know the number that it should be. We expect it to be 9.81 meters per second squared, but how could we actually measure it in the lab? Well, we need to think about SUVAT equations. So let's just think about S, U, V, A and T. Now, we could measure the height or the displacement that an object moves through, so we know the value of this. We also can release it from rest, and that means the initial velocity is going to be 0 meters per second. We don't need to worry about the final velocity because what we're trying to find is the acceleration, which is g. And of course, we can also work out the time period by recording it using a stopwatch or a digital timer. So basically, we know S, we know U, we know T, and we're trying to find A. So the equation that we can use is S is equal to UT plus a half AT squared. And of course, if U is 0, that term goes to 0. So we can say that the height it falls through, S, or I'm just going to call it H, is equal to a half AT squared, which I'm going to write as a G times T squared over 2. So this acceleration is due to gravity. And now, if I just write out the equation for a straight line underneath this, we can see that if we were to take some data for different heights that an object like a ball bearing falls through, and then we plot that on the x-axis against t squared over 2, that means the gradient of that line is going to be equal to the acceleration due to freefall. And the assumption that we're making is that when you've got a small object like this moving at a relatively slow speed, the air resistance is going to be negligible, and that means the resultant force on the object is purely down to the weight of that object. So let's have a look at a setup that we can use to actually investigate this in the lab. So this is the experimental setup. Sometimes it's referred to as a trapdoor method, and I'll come on to that in a second. So effectively, we have our ball bearing held at the top. In this case, we've got an electrical contact on each side, and this then goes through these wires into a digital timer. And that means when I open the clip, we break the contact, and that's going to start the timer. The ball is then going to fall through a certain height until it hits this pad at the bottom. Now this one happens to have a vibration sensor inside it, which is when it's knocked, is going to cause the timer to stop. And you can see I've got a couple of leads here that go from this plate at the bottom into the digital timer. Sometimes you can use a mechanical switch which actually opens when the ball bearing passes through it, and this is then referred to as the trapdoor method. So there's this trapdoor that opens, and that's what's going to stop the timer. Now, your school might have a different setup, but effectively what we've got here is a digital timer that automatically starts and it automatically stops. And that means what we can look at is the height that an object falls through and the time it takes to fall. Now, when it comes to measuring the height, you can just use your standard meter ruler, but here you've got to make sure that the ruler is actually vertical, and also it's really important that you measure to the bottom of the ball, because that's the height that it's actually going to be dropping through. And of course you need to keep your eye level with this to reduce any parallax error when it comes to measuring the height. And then all we need to do in this case here is we open the clips, the ball's going to fall, and then we're going to take a time. So let's have a look at this. The first time we're going to get is 2.80 seconds. Sorry, 0.280 seconds. If I just put this back into the starting position, I'm going to reset that. We're going to do another reading from the same height, 2.83, and then we've got, let's just do it for one more time. So I'm going to reset that, and here, 2.91. So we can see the times are very close together, and that's why it's so important to do repeats to identify any anomalous data that you might have. Now, of course, at the moment, I guess we could work out the value of g just by looking at the height and the value of time, but it's much better to do this using a graph. And what you want to do, as I explained earlier, is have a range of different values for the height that that ball falls through, and then you can plot that against t squared over 2. So you take the time, you square it, divide by 2, and in this case that would mean the gradient would be equal to the acceleration of that object. Now you might see a limitation here, is that this retort stand isn't very tall, so you might find that there's a taller retort stand, so you can actually set the initial height much higher, or it might be that you do it off the edge of the desk so you can get a much greater range of heights than just what we have on the retort stand here. So the idea of this experiment is we're going to be timing something falling through a certain height, and then you do that for different heights, you get a line, and ideally you should get something where the gradient of that line is about 9.81. And if it isn't, then you've got to think about why that might be. Maybe there's a source of systematic error. Maybe there's a slight timing delay between opening the switch and actually the stopwatch actually recording that. So there might be some systematic error in the method. And also potentially, if you're going to really tall heights, that's when the effective air resistance might come into play. But this is the experimental setup for looking at the trapdoor method in order to measure the acceleration due to freefall.